Yo, what is up, everybody? It's Out of Order. Welcome back to the channel. And today, guys, we're gonna be taking a look at what every single Sapphire effect does. This is a highly requested video. So before we get started, I'm gonna show you what the clips look like. So these are the clips we're gonna be messing with Sapphire. So we got a basic BO2 clips basically. So these clips were recorded on BO2. I recorded a green screen sky, a green screen, and a Z-Dep clip and a world clip. So let me show you what this looks like. So basically we have the player on its own green screen, we have the world on its own layer, and then we have a Z-Dep layer. As you guys can see, they're already synced up and everything. Let me show you the green screen. Yeah, see, like we have the sky green screened out. But yeah, guys, these are the clips we're going to be working with today. I'm going to be using every single Sapphire effect on them. So yeah, let's get right into this. Also, this is going to be going in a specific order. We're going to be going from top to bottom as they're organized right here. As you can see, we got Sapphire Adjust, Sapphire Border Sharpen, Sapphire Builder, Sapphire Composite, Sapphire Distort, Lighting, Render, Stylize, Time, and Transitions. So we're going to be going in that order, guys. And without further ado, let's get right into this. So yeah, guys, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's just get right into this. So yeah. So the first effect we're going to be looking at is S Channel Switcher. This effect basically allows you to choose what colors you want to show. So as you can see, I messed with the settings and I got like a little pink and yellowish color. But you can change this. You can choose what colors you want. Oh, sorry about that. I accidentally deleted it. But yeah, you guys can change what colors you want to show. You can change. You basically just mess around with the colors and stuff. Like we can change this to like green or like. So we can make this like a green or a purplish color, which looks pretty dope. And but yeah, this is a pretty nice effect. I don't really use this effect that often, but yeah, that's basically what it does. The next effect we're going to be looking at, guys, is S Clamp Chroma. This effect basically allows you to only saturate certain parts of the video. So as you guys can see, we got certain parts saturated, and we can change like the threshold and stuff. So like as you can see, guys, basically it's a saturation effect, which is pretty dope. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, you can do so much stuff with this basically. It's better than using normal saturation, so yeah. And the next effect we're going to be looking at, which is also a pretty common effect that I see a lot of people use, is the duotone effect. This effect basically allows you to show only two colors, which is pretty nice. So as you can see, I got purple and green, but like we can change this to whatever. We can make it like red or like a blue or like we can do like a blue and like a green maybe, or something like that. So as you guys can see, it basically allows you to only show two colors, which I think looks pretty sick. Like that looks pretty cool right there, and we can change this around. And yeah, that's basically what the effect does. It allows you to show two colors, which is pretty nice. The next effect we're going to be looking at is S Gamma. It does exactly what the name says it does. It's basically a gamma effect, which is pretty cool. It's basically, gamma is essentially exposure, but like more, I guess you could say. And halfway through recording that, my After Effects decided to freak out. So yeah, that's just great. So yeah, my After Effects is kind of like spazzing out. I don't know why, but like, yeah. Okay, so we're back. After Effects decided to glitch out, but basically this is a S Gamma. It's basically exactly what the name says it is. It's basically a gamma effect, except this one allows you to change like the kind of like the color and tone of it. So I think we can get some cool stuff with it. Like that looks pretty sick right there. You know, you can mess around with the, oh my god, what is going on with my After Effects? Y'all see this? But yeah, this is one of my favorite effects because of what you can do with it. Like you can kind of like edit the shadows and highlights and do a bunch of other cool stuff. So it's more than just like an exposure effect. Now this is a pretty common effect that I see a lot of editors use. It's S Hotspot. This is basically like Luma Key, except a little bit better. So as you guys can see, we can only show like, if you want to lower the shadows, you can, and get like some cool effect like this. And then you can blur it and do a bunch of other stuff. Change the saturation, change the brightness. And yeah, it overall is a really cool effect. I think this is really underrated. Next effect we got is hue, saturation, and brightness. Does exactly what it says it does. You can change the saturation, change the brightness, and change the hue of it, which is pretty nice. And the next effect we got here is S Invert. This effect does exactly what it says it does. It inverts it, so you can see we can invert the clip, invert the chroma, the colors basically, and we can do a bunch of other cool stuff. Like you can invert it in certain ways. It's kind of like S Channel Switcher, but like maybe not as advanced. And then you can offset the darks and stuff too. It's pretty cool. It's a nice effect. Next we got S Monochrome. Also in its name, basically does a monochrome effect. And except this one you can customize like the shadows and like the highlights and stuff. It's pretty cool. I like this effect. Next we got S Quadtone. This is essentially like duotone, except instead of being only two colors, you can do more than two. So you can do four. So as you can see, we can do like this maybe. This effect is essentially duotone, but on steroids, which is pretty nice. And yeah, you can do a lot with this one. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's S quad tone right there. Now this is one of my favorite effects. This is one of my personal favorite effects. I really love this effect. It's S show bad colors, and it's kind of like Illuma key, but like with colors more like. So as you guys can see, you can do some crazy like paint effects, it looks like. See, like that looks pretty cool. I don't know. I really love this effect. This is a good effect. It basically, yeah, it just brings out certain colors. Shows bad colors, as the name says. Next is S threshold. This is another cool effect that I like to use. It's basically like, kind of like, it's basically like the exposure effect, but like more of like focusing on the offset, like, you know, that offset setting on the exposure. That's basically what it does, except you can like change the colors and do a bunch of other cool stuff. It's pretty nice. The next effect we're gonna look at is S tint. This is basically like normal tint, except it looks more, I guess you could say less tinty. It looks a lot better than normal tint. That's all I'll say. Oh yeah, and then you can add like a little fade and like do some other cool stuff. Like see, it's pretty nice. Next is S tritone, basically duotone. Basically, this is basically a mix between duotone and quad tone. It's literally just in the middle of the two, which is pretty nice. Alright, we're done with Sapphire adjust. Now it's time for Sapphire blur and sharpen. Next effect we got is S beauty. This effect basically, I guess you could say, smoothens out like people's skin and like kind of like removes like, I guess, like freckles and like pimples, stuff like that basically. But I don't have any effects of like people's faces or anything. Like, I meant clips. I don't have any clips of people's faces or anything, but I've used this effect before for normal editing. You don't have to use it only on skin, and what I mean by that is you can do stuff like this. Watch. So as you guys can see, that looks kind of cool. This is not what the effect is supposed to be used for, but you can still get some cool stuff with it. Like, it's kind of like a denoiser effect basically. And yeah, next up is S blur. This is exactly what the name suggests. It's basically a blur, except a lot better than the normal blur, because you can blur in different like directions and stuff. It's like directional blur and normal blur combined. And yeah, you can do some cool stuff with it. As you guys can see, I think that looks pretty sick. But yeah, that's S blur. S blur channels is basically a blur effect, but kind of like with some chroma and RGB on it, which looks pretty sick. Yeah, you can use this for so many cool stuff. It's pretty sick. Next is S blur chroma. This is basically exactly what the name suggests, just blur but with chroma, so like we can mess around with normal blur settings. Next effect we got is S blur chroma. This effect is super cool because, as you can see, it allows you to blur like this kind of. It's basically a normal blur, but like it allows you to like blur like, it's kind of like an overlay blur basically. Next is S blur directional, exactly what the name suggests, allows you to blur in directions. Next up is S blur more curves. This effect essentially blurs. This effect essentially is like a blur, but like it allows you to like move it around and like crop it out, which is pretty cool. So as you guys can see, we can crop it out, do some other cool stuff, position it, change the Z distance. It's pretty sick. Next is S blur motion. This is another popular effect I see a lot of editors use. It basically blurs towards like the center, and like it's pretty sick. As you can see, you can do some crazy stuff like that looks insane. Honestly, I really love this effect. Like, look at this. Look how cool that is. Y'all seeing this? Look at that. This effect is insane. Next effect is S convolve. This is a pretty cool one. As you guys can see, it like blurs, but like kind of like an oily paint effect. It's pretty nice. As you can see, that's basically what it does. Next up, we got S convolve comp. This is basically like an extreme blur. As you guys can see, it's doing some crazy effects right here, but it's basically just like a blur on steroids. Next up is S deband. As you can see, this is a pretty cool effect. It's kind of like amino diffusion, if you know what that plugin is. But yeah, it's basically an amino diffusion combined with like find edges, which is pretty sick. Next is S defocus prism. This is a pretty cool one. It's basically like BCC lens blur, if you know what that effect is. It's basically BCC lens blur but with chroma. It's pretty sick, as you can see, guys. See, like, you can do some crazy stuff like that with this effect. Honestly, it's super overpowered what you can do with it. But yeah, guys, that's this effect right here. Next is S edge aware blur. This is a pretty cool effect too. It basically is kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like a really washed out blur, which is pretty sick. As you can see, like, if you increase this all the way, it looks kind of like you're looking at like through glass or something, like really dirty glass. It's pretty dope. Next up is S edge blur. This is basically like a blur, but like it has like a threshold where like you only blur certain parts of the clip, which is pretty sick. Next is S grain remove. Exactly what the thing says it does. It basically removes grain, and it's like a little kind of cool what you can do with it. You don't have to use it to remove grain. Like I've seen people use this effect normally. Like I've seen people use this effect differently in like edits and stuff. Next effect is S median. If you ever used Photoshop, you know that there's like a filter gallery. This looks like one of those effects you see in the filter gallery. This kind of looks like pixel sorting kind of, but yeah, it's pretty dope. Next up, we got rack defocus. This is essentially like a camera lens blur effect. It's basically camera lens blur, but like a million times better. You also get some RGB Z distance effect. As you guys can see, it looks pretty sick. Next effect is S rack DF comp. This is a pretty cool one. This effect is super cool because like it's kind of like a defocus effect, but more of like a bokeh one. Like as you can see, it's like BCC lens blur, but without like that circle effect. You know what I'm saying? Next effect is S sharpen. It does exactly what the name suggests. Allows you to sharpen, but like have more control than normal sharpen, which is pretty sick. So that's basically what I created with S sharpen. I think that looks pretty sick. That could be like a cool edit. Next effect is S soft focus. This effect basically is exactly what the name suggests. It kind of softens your clips and allows you to do some cool stuff with it, and you can kind of like create like some like cool blurs with it too. It's pretty nice. The next effect is SZ blur. This is essentially a blur, but for your Z depth clip. So as you guys can see, if we go here, we can select the Z depth, which is our top layer. And this is essentially just a blur, but for your Z depth. So as you guys can see, the further the objects are away, the blurrier they are, but the closer they are, the more in focus they are. As you guys can see, it's basically like a focus effect, which looks pretty sick. As you guys can see, like we can blur the background and like, it's basically just a normal blur, but for Z depth. Next effect is SZ convolve. Same as the original S convolve, except this one, like again, is for Z depth. So we can select the Z depth layer there, and then we can like do some crazy fog effects and like, it's pretty dope. I really love S convolve. I think S convolve is a great effect. But as you guys can see, this works on Z depth, as you can see. So like the further things are, the darker they are, and you know, yada yada yada. Next is SZ defocus, same thing as the original defocus, but for Z depth layer, and I think it's pretty dope. So yeah, we can just defocus the background. So that looks kind of cool. It looks like a little hazy effect, which is pretty nice. All right, we're done with S blur and sharpen. Now it's time for S builder. S effect basically allows you to, well, add Sapphire effects, and nothing really to it. And then S transitions, the same thing. It allows you to add transitions. Those are the two S builder effects. They're not really effects themselves. Next is S composite. We got S edge flash here. This effect allows you to basically like do like a kind of glow effect. As you can see, it basically allows you to like add a flash on screen, which is pretty sick. Next effect is S layer. This effect is basically like 5 effects combined. It's like color correction effects combined with like transform effects, which is pretty dope. So yeah, it's basically like if you need a color correct or like work with transform or anything like that, like opacity and stuff like that, then S layer is the way to go. Next effect is S math ops. This effect basically allows you to combine 2 different clips. So as you guys can see, we combined these 2 clips together, and that looks insane. Honestly, that looks super dope. It's kind of like a film burn effect, but like maybe a little bit cooler than a film burn. Next effect is S matte ops. This one allows you to basically do like vignette effects and like basically just like kind of like position like shadows over different things. So as you guys can see, we got like a little shadow effect. Next effect is SZ comp. This effect basically allows you to add anti-aliasing to your Z depth layer. So as you guys can see, our Z depth clip kind of has like anti-aliasing, and yeah, as you can see, it's pretty dope. Now we're on to my favorite category, S distort. So let's take a look at these. So the first effect of the distort category is S distort. This effect does exactly what it says it does. It distorts your image to like kind of look like glass and like a bunch of other cool. It's really cool. Next is S distort blur. This one is basically what the name suggests. It's S distort combined with S blur. So as you can see, we can like blur the little distortions and stuff, and it looks pretty sick. Next is S distort chroma. Exactly what it says again. It's basically S distort, but with like some RGB splitting and stuff. So as you can see, if we distort this and like mess around with the settings, we can get some like RGB splitting and like some cool distortions. Next is S distort RGB. This is basically the same as S distort chroma, except the saturation on the RGB is a little bit increased, which is pretty cool. And this one allows you to go like crazy extreme. Like, it allows you to mess around with like each color RGB separation individually. So it basically is like a psychedelic effect. You can create psychedelic like visuals and stuff. Like, that looks pretty like hallucinogenic, you know what I'm saying? Now this is another one of my favorite effects, infinite zoom. It basically allows you to zoom in to basically like infinity. As you can see, it's just an infinite zoom effect. It's pretty trippy, so like you can like keyframe it and have it like come in like that. It's pretty sick. And of course, we're on to the most popular Sapphire effect. This is without a doubt the effect that everyone uses. It's S-Shake. Alright guys, everyone loves S-Shake. I love S-Shake. You love S-Shake. We all love S-Shake. Alright, S-Shake is literally the greatest Sapphire effect ever. It's basically a shake, and like you can like, yeah, it's, if you don't know what it does, it's essentially a shake. So as you can see, we got like a nice little shake on that. It's probably the best effect out of all the Sapphire plugins. It's amazing. Alright guys, I love S-Shake. S-Stretch Frame Edges. This is exactly what the name suggests it does. It stretches the video and stuff, so you can like stretch it and do like, yeah, it's just basically it stretches the video out. It's pretty cool. Next effect is S-Warp Bubble. This is basically turbulent displace on steroids. As you can see, you can do some crazy stuff with it. It's pretty nice. I really like this effect. Next effect is S-Warp Bubble 2. It's basically turbulent displacement, except the difference here is that this one has a little more settings. Oh yeah, and there's also Z-distance on this one too, so it allows you to do some crazy stuff like that. Next effect is S-Warp Chroma. This is essentially like a chromatic aberration, except instead of it being like a circle, it's more of like a square effect. So as you can see, we can do some stuff like this. You can also change it to like look like this kind of, and you can like twist it around and stuff. It's pretty cool. Oh yeah, and you can change the colors too, which is nice. Next effect is S-Warp Chroma Pin. This effect basically, it allows you to basically like add like a little skew effect, kind of like similar to like what you can do in Photoshop with like the warp effect. It basically, yeah, it just allows you to like skew the video around and like move it around, kind of like in 3D, but like not 3D, you know what I'm saying? It's pretty dope. Next effect is S-Warp Drops. This one allows you to add like basically a puddle effect, which is pretty sick. So like we can like, you know, add this around and... But yeah, it's pretty cool what you can do with this. It's like a puddle, you know? Next is S-Warp Fisheye. This is a pretty cool effect. It's exactly what it says it is. It's a fisheye effect. It looks kind of similar to CC Lens. If you don't know what that effect is, it's a pretty cool effect. But yeah, it's like CC Lens, except this one's more trippy in my opinion. It's like a kind of like a psychedelic like effect, like, you know, like a kaleidoscope almost. Next is S-Warp Magnify. This is basically exactly what it says it is. It's a magnifying glass basically that you can like position around and like you can move it around if you want to focus on a subject or something like that. It's pretty sick. And my favorite effect out of this category, besides S-Shake, is S-Warp Perspective. It allows you to move around in like 3D almost, and like this is what a lot of AMV editors use and like other editors like that, you know, that kind of style of editing. So like you can like keyframe it and like position it around, and it's super cool. It's basically just like an infinite plane of your video. Next effect is S-Warp Polar. It basically makes your video into like a circle, but like, oh, it's pretty cool because you can like skew it around and like you can make it like, you can make a donut out of your video, which is pretty sick. Next is S-Warp Puddle. Yeah, this one's similar to S-Warp Drops, I think it was. Yeah, S-Warp Drops, except this one's more puddly, I guess. Next effect is S-Warp Puff. This is basically S-Distort, but it allows you to like add a luma key almost to it. And yeah, that's basically what it looks like. As you can see, here's my clip of the cinematic and the guy's dying and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Next effect is S-Warp Repeat. This effect is basically like that S-Warp Chroma effect, except instead of having chroma, there's no chroma. It's like a mix between Infinite Zoom and S-Warp Chroma. So as you can see, it basically just repeats your video. It's pretty sick, honestly. Next effect is S-Warp Transform. This is essentially your After Effects transform effect, except you have more settings to do. So you can like skew it around, position it, Z-distance it, rotate. It's basically After Effects Transform, but a Sapphire version. Now this is another effect that I use commonly in most of my edits, S-Warp Vortex. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a little vortex effect, so you can like do some crazy, like trippy, like psychedelic like stuff with it, or you can just use it for a background. Like I make my backgrounds using S-Warp Vortex. It's pretty cool. Next is S-Warp Waves. This effect is exactly what it sounds like. It creates waves, and like it's pretty sick because you can like make it like, you can make subtle waves like this, or you can do like crazy waves like this. It's pretty cool. Next effect is S-Warp Waves 2. This is essentially like S-Warp waves, but like on steroids, basically. You have way more control. You can move around in like space and time, and like it's pretty cool. You have you have Z distance effects too, and yeah, it's a pretty nice effect. All right, on to my second favorite category. We got S lighting. All right, S lighting's another one. So the first effect in S lighting is S bokeh lights. This is basically exactly what it sounds like. It generates bokeh lights. So like, you know, those like backgrounds with like really out of focus like orbs and stuff. That's how you do that. You use S bokeh lights, and you can do some crazy stuff with it, you know? It's pretty cool. Next effect is S drop shadow. This is a cool effect, so like I can add it onto this guy, and it basically is like a shadow. You can also make outlines with it too if you increase it like all the way, and you can change the color of it too. So if you want like your guy to glow or something like that, you can do that, which is pretty sick. Next effect is S edge rays. If you don't know what Trapcode shine is, it basically allows you to like create like little like I guess you could say little light rays and stuff. So that's basically what this effect does. It's really similar to Trapcode shine. I prefer Trapcode shine over this though, because like I don't know, I feel like you have more control over with Trapcode shine. But this is still a cool effect, you know. This is really cool. Next is S flash bulbs. This one essentially is like the bokeh one, except it just has like little light balls that just fly around and stuff. And you can change their settings and like move them around and like change the seed of it and all that cool stuff. Next effect is S glare. This one adds glares around, so as you can see, that window over there is glaring. And then when he scopes into the gun, it glares. And yeah, it's basically just a glare effect. I personally don't really like this effect because I think the glares look kind of like cartoony and like unrealistic. But yeah, if you want glares, that's how you do it with S-glare. Now, this is the better version of that. This is S-glint. I love S-glint so much. It's one of my favorite effects. It's basically S-glare, but it looks a lot more realistic and cooler. So as you can see, there's like glints and stuff. It's pretty cool. Next effect is S-glint rainbow. This is basically S-glint, but with like more chroma and just more colors. Basically, it's pretty sick, honestly. Like as you can see, that looks like a rainbow. It's pretty nice. It's basically just S-glint, but better. Now, this is one of the most popular Sapphire effects, S-glow. I'm personally not really a big fan of S-glow, but I can see why people use it. It's a lot better than the default glow. But yeah, I don't really like S-glow. I think it looks kind of weird, you know. But if you like S-glow, that's cool, you know. It's still better than the default After Effects glow. But yeah, it's basically just a glow. Next effect is S-glow aura. This is basically just S-glow, except it's like more of like psychedelic-y, you know. It's kind of like it looks pretty cool, honestly. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like really cool, you know. It's basically just a glow effect, but like it has like these like it's like cycle blobs, S cycle blobs, which we'll cover later in the video. S-glow darks is essentially a reverse S-glow. Basically this effect, it basically just increases the dark parts and like adds a glow on them. So as you can see, this is a pretty cool effect if you're creating like a horror movie or something like that. But yeah, it's basically just a reverse S-glow, which is pretty sick. I really love this effect. Next effect is S-glow distance. This effect is basically S-glow, except they kind of look more like orbs, if you know what I mean. Like the glows kind of look like, I don't know how to describe it. They just look more like balls, you know, like the little glows kind of look like circles. They're kind of like, yeah, it's basically an S-glow, but like they're circles. Next effect is S-glow edges. This is basically S-glow combined with find edges. As you can see, it's basically, yeah, it's find edges combined with S-glow, which is pretty cool, you know. You can do some cool stuff with this. I've never really seen anyone use this effect. I've seen people use find edges effect, which you shouldn't be using that effect because that's a really hated effect. But yeah. Next effect is S-glow noise. This effect is essentially S-glow, but with like a noise filter applied on top of it. So as you can see, the whole clip doesn't have noise, only the glows do. So that's pretty cool. I don't know why you would use this, but I don't know, someone might find it useful. Next effect is S-glow orthicon. I think that's how you pronounce it. This effect is pretty cool. It's basically like S-glow darks, except like combined with find edges. So as you can see, it's like glowing out the dark parts, but like not entirely glowing them out. It's not like a vignette like how the other one looked. Next effect is S-glow rainbows. This is essentially S-glow, but like a really psychedelic version of it. This is essentially S-glow combined with S-glint and combined with S-glare. So it's like 3 effects combined. It's pretty trippy, as you guys can see. That is like super trippy. I don't really know why anyone would use this effect though. I mean, I think this effect looks kind of ridiculous and it's too much, but someone might enjoy it. Next effect is S-glow rings. This is like a really cool effect. This one's essentially like I don't know how to describe this effect really, but I think it looks pretty cool. It's basically S-glow, but like with like some S shadows and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Now this is another cool effect that I see a lot of people use, S lens flare. It's basically exactly what it sounds like. It makes lens flares, which is pretty cool. Honestly though, I still prefer optical flares. Video Copilot's optical flares is still a million times better than this. But you know, if you can't afford optical flares or you don't have the time to get it, then S lens flare is a good alternative. Next, we got S lens flare auto track. This one automatically tracks the lens flare to the bright parts of the clip. So as you can see, it's like automatically tracking. It's like motion tracking itself, which is pretty cool. You don't have to do any motion tracking, but most of the time I find this to be really buggy, so I never really use it. Next effect is S-Light 3D. This is something that you would put on your light layers. The only thing is I don't have any 3D like projects, I guess you could say, so I can't really show this effect, but it's essentially just like an effect that allows you to customize After Effects built-in lighting system even better, which is pretty cool. Now another one of my favorite effects is S Light Leak. It does exactly what the name says it does. It adds light leaks to your video, which is pretty cool, and you can like keyframe this to like do some cool stuff. So like look at this. Look how cool that is. You see that? Like you can have light leaks without having to download like overlays and stuff. It's insane, you know? I love this effect. Next effect is S-Rays. This is like what I would say is like the equivalent of Trapcode Shine. I think S-Edge Rays is pretty terrible, but S-Rays is a lot better. So as you can see, if you want light rays in your video, you can do that, and you can change the color and all that good stuff. So it's a really cool effect. I really like S-Rays. Next effect is S-Spotlight. This is basically like a vignette effect, except it's not a vignette, it's a spotlight. But yeah, honestly, I don't really know why you would use this effect. You could just use S vignette and like motion track that or whatever you want to do with it. But if you don't like S vignette for some reason and you want to use a spotlight instead, then there's the effect. Next effect is S streaks. This allows you to kind of separate the light from the video, your original video. So as you can see, we got this like little lighting thing separated, and it's pretty cool. You can do some cool stuff with it. I think this is a really underrated effect. I don't see any editors use this effect at all. But yeah, this is a pretty cool effect. You can do some cool stuff with it. I love this effect. And the last effect of Sapphire lighting is SZ glow. So this works on your Z depth layer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a gradient ramp, and I'm going to make a sky. So let's just do like just a sky basically. We're going to make a sky real quick using the green screened out, the green screened out thing. And then we're going to add SZ glow onto here. And then with SZ glow, we're going to select our depth map, which is, I believe it is this one right here. Yeah, this is this one. And you can glow the Z depth, basically. You can glow the Z depth, so the further objects away, the more glow there is. The closer objects are to your frame, the less glow there is. So I think it's a pretty cool effect. So as you can see, we can create almost like fog, and it's insane. I really love this effect. So the next effects we got here are Sapphire render effects. These effects essentially generate stuff. So if we go to S render, the first effect we're going to have is S aurora, which basically generates an aurora. As you can see, guys, it's pretty cool. And this is really cool because you can like change like the way it like the aurora plays out. So like you can make it like super like, it's just, you have complete control over this like aurora. It's so insane. I love this effect. This is like my favorite effect, guys. I really love Sapphire. All right, guys. Boris did an amazing job making these effects because these effects are great. Next effect is S caustics. This essentially just allows you to generate like little, like I guess you could say like little circles, kind of like, you know, it looks kind of like water. So if you want to make water, I recommend another effect for making water, but if you don't want to use that other effect, you can make water this way. Next effect is S clouds. Does exactly what the name suggests, allows you to generate clouds and stuff, and you can mask these out. So like let's just mask it out and then like feather it a bunch, and yeah, we can make clouds, you know. It's pretty cool. Next effect is S cloud color smooth. It's basically S clouds but with colors. So yeah, if you want colors in your clouds, you can do that. You can make like almost like cotton candy, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, if you want color in your clouds, you can do that. Now we got S clouds multicolor here. This is like a more realistic version of the last one. So if you want your clouds to have like a subtle like color to them, but not too much, like that, basically, if you want like pink clouds, you can do that with this effect. Next effect is S clouds perspective. This allows you to generate clouds, but also allows you to rotate them and like move around in Z depth and like space and time. And it's really cool. You know, it's basically just It's basically S Clouds combined with S Warp Perspective. Next, we got S Cloud Psycho. This is another cool effect that I use often from time to time. It basically allows you to make some trippy, like acid or like DMT kind of like effects. So if you're trying to make like a psychedelic video or something, then S Cloud Psycho is the way to go. Next effect is S Clouds Vortex. It's basically S Warp Vortex combined with S Clouds. It's pretty cool. You can do some cool stuff with it, change the color, all that good stuff. Next is S Gradient. This effect is basically a gradient ramp like the default After Effects one, except you have a little bit more control. You can add noise, you can smooth the curve, brightness or whatever. It's pretty cool. Next is S Gradient Multi. This is a really cool effect that I really love using. It's basically allows you to create cool backgrounds and stuff. So like if you want to, you can change the color to whatever you want. Let's do pink here. And then let's do like a blue there. And yeah, that's what that effect does. Next is S Gradient Radial. This effect basically is like a vignette kind of like, but like on a background with like a gradient. It's pretty hard to explain, but it's basically gradient ramp, but you have it set to radial instead of a linear. So yeah, that's basically what this effect does. Next is S Grid. This effect allows you to generate grids. It's pretty cool. You can like mess around and make this like 3D and like, yeah, you can do some cool stuff with it like this basically. It's pretty sick. Next effect is S Grunge. Basically creates grunge textures. It's pretty sick, as you can see. So like if you want like a really dirty or like a bloody, I guess you could say background or something like that, or like a paint background, you can do that with S Grunge. It's pretty sick. Next is S Laser Beam, and it does exactly what it says it does. It makes laser beams, which is pretty sick. So like we can make it like blue, and we can like keyframe this so we can like move it around and stuff. And like next effect we got, which a lot of people don't use, which I've used from time to time, is S Luna. This one allows you to generate a moon, and you can do some cool stuff. Like you can turn up the brightness, choose the lunar phase. As you can see, you can have your moon like phase around and stuff. And I've used this in like I think maybe 5 of my edits. It's a really underrated effect. I don't know why a lot of people don't use it. It allows you to make moons. Like, how cool is that? Next effect is S Muzzle Flash. This is another effect I use from time to time. It's basically a muzzle flash. So like you can have like an AK-47 bullet, a Beretta, an M16 bullet, and then you can like keyframe the rotation and the radius, and you can have it like shoot out like that. So when it shoots, it goes pew, you know what I'm saying? It's super cool. Next effect is S Night Sky. Does exactly what the name suggests. It makes a night sky that's really customizable. You can change all the particles, the sizes of them. It's pretty cool. Really underrated effect. Next is S Shape. This effect generates shapes, and you can customize the shape. You can make stars. You can make little triangles. Like I think that's a Nissan logo. I don't know what logo that is, but yeah, you can create little different kinds of shapes with this effect. It's pretty cool. Next is S Sparkles. This one basically generates random S glints around the area, and it's pretty cool. You know, I don't really like this effect, but like if you need a background or something, but you can do that. Next is S Sparkles Color. This effect basically does S sparkles, but with different colors on each of them, which is pretty cool. Next effect is S Texture Cells. Allows you to generate like little cells and stuff. And like, I don't know why anyone would use this effect, but if you need to generate cells for some reason, you can. Next effect is S Chroma Spiral. This is like a really cool effect that allows you to basically just like add some chroma effects, and you can like make it like go through time. So like that basically, if you want to go, if you want your effect to go crazy, you can. And this is the alternative to S Caustic. This is S Texture Flux. I prefer this effect for making water. So you can change the color to like this maybe. And this is what I use to make water. So if you want to make water in your edits, this is how you would do it. You would use S Texture Flux. And yeah, it's really customizable too. I use this effect from time to time. It's pretty cool, you know. Next effect is S Texture Folded. This one allows you to basically do an S Texture Flux with like turbulent displacement without it being like too much, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't look watery, but it looks pretty like turbulent displacing, you know what I'm saying? Next effect is S Texture Loops. This one generates little loops and stuff that like move around throughout time. You can change the speed of them, so if you want them to go fast, you can. Softness, all that good stuff, change the color, you know how it is. Next effect is S Texture Micro. This is a really weird effect. I don't really know what this is supposed to be, you know. It looks kind of like water, but like at the same time it doesn't. I don't really know what this effect is supposed to be, but if you're trying to create a background or something and you need something to, you need a background or something, I would use this effect. Next effect is S Texture Moire. This is a really trippy effect too. This is like some like salvia DMT type stuff. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. This is just some trippy stuff. If you want to make a psychedelic edit, go for it. You know, this is the effect to use. Next effect is S Texture Neurons. I've used this effect before in my Let 'Em Bleed edit. As you can see, that's how I did it. I basically just put the neurons in, made them red, and yeah, that creates a sick background. You know, it's pretty cool. And the next effect we got here is S Texture Emboss. This effect kind of resembles clay or like, I guess, mud or something like that. It's pretty cool. It's really customizable. All these texture effects are super customizable. Like, you can invert it, do all this cool stuff. Only show certain parts of it. Like, look how cool that is. That's cool right there. Oh yeah, and you can change the color, of course. Like, yeah. Next effect is S Texture Paint. This is essentially not really a trippy effect, more like an artsy effect. It's pretty cool. You can move this throughout time. You can shift this around. You can also make it like less, like, I guess you could say, like linear and more like squarey. You know what I'm saying? Next effect is S Texture Plasma. This allows you to create little plasma-like effects, and they're pretty cool. This will make a sick background. You know what I'm saying, boys? Like, as you can see, if you guys need a cool background, S Texture Plasma is the way to go. You know. Next effect is S Texture Spots. This one just generates random dots throughout the screen. So I guess you could use this to make like a night sky or like a snow overlay. But honestly, I feel like you're better off with either S Night Sky or S Particular. Or not S Particular, Trapcode Particular. Next effect is S Texture Tiles. This one basically just generates like kaleidoscope-like effects. It's pretty cool. You can customize it however you want. Zoom out, mess around with it. You can invert it too, which is pretty cool. Next effect is S Texture Weave. This one kind of looks like I guess you could say like hay or something like that. It's a pretty cool effect, you know? The usual, change the color, change the frequency, change the seed, all that good stuff. Next effect is S Zap. This one basically generates a lightning bolt. It's pretty cool. I really love this effect. If you're trying to create lightning, use S Zap. It's really customizable too. You can like change like how like thick it is, and like, oh, that is so cool. Look at that. You see that, guys? That's insane. Next effect is S Zap Form. This one uses 3D objects, except I don't really have any 3D maybe it'll work if I do. Maybe it'll work if I do this. Oh no, it didn't work. But yeah, this is basically S Zap, except it forms around a 3D object. It's pretty cool. Next effect is S Zap 2. This one allows you to select different layers and stuff to like have it like form onto each other and stuff. It's pretty cool. Alright, now we're on to the biggest category, S Stylize. This one's going to take a while to cover, but let's go through it, guys. First effect, S Auto Paint. Basically creates a paint effect. It's pretty cool. You can like customize it and do some crazy stuff with it. It's a nice effect, you know. Next effect is S Band Pass. This one basically allows you to add like insane extreme sharpening effects, which is pretty cool. Next effect is S Bleach Bypass. This one kind of like is similar to Luma Key and like hot spots and stuff, but like you can like control like the brightness and saturation, all that stuff. Next effect is S Brush. This one kind of makes it look like it was like drawn with like colored pencils or something. It's pretty cool, you know. Next effect is S Cartoon. Makes it look like it's a cartoon or like an anime or something like that. I don't really like this effect. I think it looks kind of weird, but if you like it, then go for it, you know? Next effect is S Cartoon Paint. This is like a mix between S Auto Paint and S Cartoon. So like if you want to have it like kind of like a painty effect, but like at the same time have it like in like a little cartoon, this is the effect to go to. Next effect is S Crosshatch. This one's a cool effect. It kind of just adds an overlay and stuff and makes it look like it's like drawn with like pencils and stuff. So I say this will look great if you lower the frame rate. Like if you have like a frame rate of like 10 or something, this will look really cool. Next effect is S Diffuse. Makes it look like you're looking through glass or something like that. It's a pretty cool effect. I like this effect. Next effect is Digital Damage. This one adds basically glitches to your edit. It's pretty cool. Honestly, this is one of my favorite glitch effects to use. I prefer this over Glitchify. But yeah, it basically just damages your video and like makes it look all corrupt and stuff. It's pretty cool. Next effect is S Dog Vision. Basically allows you to create what dogs would see. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're looking through a dog's eye view or something like that, then this is what it will look like. So yeah, it's pretty cool, you know? Next effect is S Edge Colorize. This is basically find edges, but like I guess you could say more customizable. So you can change the exact colors. So like if you want it to be like green and blue, and instead of black, you want it to be like white, you can do that. So yeah, it's basically find edges, but on steroids. Next effect is S-Edge Detect. This is exactly like find edges. This one, you can't change the color or anything like that. It's basically find edges, but like a lot more customizable. I still prefer S-Edge colorized, but yeah, this is still pretty cool, you know? Next effect is S-Edge Detect Bubble. This is a mix between S find edges basically and S Distort. So if you want to create some distortions but don't want to really, you know, use S Distorts, then this is the effect to go to. It's pretty cool, you know? Next effect is S-Edges in Direction. This is basically allows you to add a directional blur to your S-Edge effect, which is pretty cool. You can change the color and stuff, do all that cool stuff. It's pretty cool. Next effect is S-Emboss. This is a really cool one right here. This one basically allows you to like mess around with like, I guess it's kind of like sharpening it, but like not entirely sharpening it. It's pretty cool, you know? If you want to do something like that, then go for it. Next is S-Emboss Distort. Same thing as the last effect I showed you, except this one has distortion effects to it, so it's pretty cool. Next effect is S-Emboss Glass. This one's basically like the last effect, except it has more chroma onto it, so yeah, as you can see, looks pretty cool. Can do some stuff like that. Next effect is S-Emboss Shiny. This is like the last two effects, except this one has more of like a sharpen filter on it. It's pretty cool. You can like sharpen it more, and it just looks really shiny, you know, like the name suggests. Next effect is S-Etching. This effect is like amino diffusion. It basically makes it monochrome and like adds kind of like particles and stuff around. It's pretty cool, you know. You can do some crazy stuff like this basically. But yeah, I'd say it's basically amino diffusion. Next effect, S-Film Damage. This effect makes it look like your videos like film damage. It adds like little like hairs and like scratches and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Next effect is S-Film Effect. Yeah, this is a really cool color correcting effect. I think it looks pretty cool. You can do some cool stuff with it. But yeah, that's basically it. Next effect is Fisheye Circles. This is kind of like a mosquito vision or like stuff like that, you know, like weird insect vision. It's pretty cool. Allows you to do some cool stuff like this. Next effect is Fisheye Hex. Same thing, except instead of circles, it's a little hexagon. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah. Next effect is Fisheye Rect. This is a rectangle or like a square instead of a hexagon or a circle. Next effect is S-Grain. This basically adds grain and noise to your footage. It's pretty cool, pretty customizable. I really like it. Next effect is S-Grain Static. This is basically the same as the last effect, except this one has more like staticky and like, yeah, it basically looks more like static than like grain. I don't know the difference really, but yeah. Next is S-Halftone. This one adds a bunch of halftones on your screen. It's pretty sick. I've never really seen anyone use this effect, but you guys could be the first to use it. It's pretty cool, you know, if you want to make your effect look like kind of like a comic book almost, then yeah. Next is Halftone Color. This effect is the exact same as the last one, but it has color to it instead of being black and white. So yeah. Next is Halftone Rings. This is really similar to Robite's dot pixel effect. So yeah, if you want like little circles over your little footage, then use this effect. Next effect is SJPEG Damage. This is like a really like, I guess this effect is what a lot of editors use to lower quality. If your footage looks too clean, or you're trying to like have like a Better Call Saul almost intro, like you know how like Better Call Saul the intros are always low quality. If you want to do something like that, then use SJPEG Damage. It's a pretty nice effect. Next is S-Kaleido. Does exactly what the name suggests. It adds a kaleidoscope to your effect. It's pretty cool, pretty customizable. As you can see, it looks pretty trippy. If you want to make a trippy psychedelic edit, then use S-Kaleido. Next is S-Kaleido Polar. Same thing as S-Kaleido, except this one's more of like a vortexy effect. It basically repeats itself as a circle. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Next is S-Kaleido Radial. This one's kind of similar to S-Kaleido, except this one has like, I guess you could say it's more of like you can rotate it more and like, yeah, it basically, personally, I think this is better than S-Kaleido Polar. I think S-Kaleido Radial is better than that. But yeah, it's a pretty cool effect. Next is S-Mosaic. Pixelates your footage. If you're in Japan and you need to censor some stuff, if you know what I mean, then use this effect. S-Mosaic, that's what they use there. It's a pretty cool effect. Pixelates it. It's pretty cool. Next effect is S-Posterize. This is another cool effect. This one basically like makes your edit look really, I guess the colors look like, it kind of like, it's like AE pixel sort, except instead of sorting the pixels, it like separates the colors into like different like layers, you know what I'm saying? It just looks really cool. Next is S-Pseudo Color. This is another trippy effect. If you're trying to make a psychedelic edit, use this effect. It's really underrated. I've never seen anyone use this effect. But yeah, it's a super cool effect. Now this is one of my favorite effects that I really love using, S-Cycle Blobs. It essentially just makes your guy, it essentially just makes your video look like crazy, psychedelic-y, you know what I'm saying? So like if you wanna, you can add this to your players and stuff. It looks pretty cool. Next is S-Cycle Stripes. This is really similar to Cycle Blobs, except instead of being blobs, it's stripes. So you notice how like it doesn't look as blobby anymore? See, like it's like stripes. It's pretty cool. Next effect is S-Roman Tile. This basically makes your footage look like it's made out of tiles. It's pretty cool. I really like this effect. Yeah, it's like tile-y. Next effect is S-Scanlines. It adds scanlines to your footage. It's like a little scanline overlay, and you can change like the little width of them, the opacity, all that good stuff. Next is Scanlines Mono. Does the same thing, except this time it black and whites your footage. So yeah. Next is S-Sketch. This effect basically makes it look like it's like kind of like find edges basically, but like I don't know. It's like find edges, but like I don't know how to explain it. It's just a really cool effect. Next effect is S-Solarize. This effect basically just messes around with like, I guess the colors of it, and as you can see, we can like increase the saturation, all that cool stuff. Yeah, it just messes around with the colors. Next effect is S-Strip Slide. This is kind of like a transition. As you can see, it allows you to basically, yeah, it makes it slide up and down. So yeah, that's a pretty cool effect. I really like this one. And yeah, you can change the position and all that cool stuff. Next is Tile Scramble. This effect I've only used once. It allows you to basically just scramble your footage. So like, yeah, as you can see, it's like really pixelated and like it comes into normal. And like they start rotating and stuff. It's pretty cool. Next is TV Damage. This effect essentially just makes your video look like it's a TV basically. Like a really broken TV, you know what I'm saying? Next is S-Vignette. Does exactly what the name suggests. It adds a vignette effect. This is also what I use for making scopes in my edits. So like I lower the softness and then I make it a circle, and then this is how I make my scopes in when I'm editing. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Next effect is S-Vintage Color 2-Strip. Makes your footage look like it's vintage. Kind of like, it reminds me of Universe VHS, but it's not Universe VHS. It's a Sapphire effect. Next is S-Vintage Color 3-Strip. This one adds basically more color and stuff, but yeah, it does the same thing. It's basically a vintage effect. So yeah, if you want to make your footage look vintage, there you go. Next effect is S-Zebrify. This is essentially Cycle Blobs, except instead of it being rainbows, it's black and white. So yeah. Next effect is S-Zebrify Color. It's basically Cycle Blobs, but not animated. So see, you notice how the colors aren't changing and moving around? It's basically Cycle Blobs, so yeah. Next effect, we got Z-Fog Exponential. Does exactly what the name suggests. You add it to your Z-Depth layer. So as you can see, this is my Z-Depth layer right here. And as you can see, it adds fog. So like we can make the fog do all this cool stuff. And yeah, it's basically fog. Next up is SZ-Fog Linear. Does the exact same thing, except instead of being exponential, it's linear. So if we go into here and select the Z-Depth, we can mess around with it and make fog. So yeah, I think that looks pretty sick if you ask me. Alright, we're all done with Sapphire Stylize. Now it's time for Sapphire time. So next effect, first effect we got is S-Cut to Dissolve. It's basically a dissolve effect where you have like, yeah, it's basically a dissolve effect. It's pretty cool, you know. We all know dissolves, there's cross dissolves, all that stuff. Next effect is S-Feedback. This is a really trippy effect. I don't know how to explain this effect. This is like, yeah, this is really weird. It basically just like adds like glitches, but like time glitches, you know what I'm saying? This looks like some really hardcore drugs, I'm not gonna lie. This looks like some PCP type stuff, but yeah. Next effect is S-Feedback Bubble. This effect essentially is S-Feedback, but it bubbles. If you want to make your edit look like you're on drugs, there you go. Next we got S-Feedback Distort. This basically is like turbulent displacement, except it's S-Feedback, so like it's pretty cool. Next effect is S-Field Remove. This one essentially like glitches out your footage and like makes it like flicker, and like it's really cool, I'm not gonna lie. It's basically a black and white glitchy twitchy footage. Next effect is S-Flicker. This effect does exactly what the name suggests. It adds flickers into your edit, so as you can see it's like flickering. Let me increase that to like 0.5. But yeah, it's basically a flicker effect. It's pretty cool, you know. Next effect is S-Flicker Match. This one allows you to select its own layer And then it allows you to add flickers that are like, I guess you could say like only to that layer that like corresponds. So like it's pretty cool. It's basically it basically reacts to your footage is essentially what I'm saying. Next effect is S flicker remove. Does exactly what the name suggests. It removes flickers. It's pretty cool. Next effect is S flicker remove color. Same thing, but removes color flickers. Next effect is S flicker remove matte. This one removes opacity flickers. Next effect is S freeze frame. This effect kind of does what it says. It freezes the frame for like time to time. So as you can see, looks really laggy and choppy. It's a pretty cool effect. I like this one. Next effect is S get frame. This one essentially allows you to like find your frame. It's basically timer map. I don't know what to say really. Yeah, this effect is essentially timer map. Next effect is S jitter frames. This one makes your footage like jitter almost. So as you can see, it looks really glitchy. Next effect is S motion detect. This one, I don't know how to explain it. It's basically find edges, but like it reacts to the time of the footage. So like, yeah, I don't know. This effect is super weird. Like, look at this. This looks insane, bro. Next effect is S nearest color. This one adds, like, I guess you could say, like, almost like, it's almost like a data mosh effect, basically. That's what I would compare this to. This is essentially a data mosh effect. Next effect is S random edits. This one, basically makes your footage just trip out on you. This one, S bad frame, essentially distorts your footage at a certain time. So, like, as you can see right there. Next effect is S retime. This is essentially like RSMB combined with timer mapping. So yeah, if you want RSMB timer mapping, use S retime. Next effect is S reverse clip. Does exactly what the name suggests. It reverses the clip. So look, as you can see, yeah, it's pretty cool. Next effect is S reverse edits. It trips out your footage again. Next effect is S time average. This is essentially like resample basically, but like not as much as resample, you know? Next effect is S time displace. This one is basically this effect is basically a displacement map, but it's like it reacts to time. So as you can see, that looks pretty cool right there. Like look at that. That is insane. Next effect is S time slice. This one essentially changes the position of like and like the scaling of like certain parts of the clip. So like it goes from up to down. So as you can see like that. It looks pretty trippy. I really like this effect. Next is Time Warp RGB. Same thing, but this time it has RGB splitting instead. Next effect is S Trails. This one essentially is like resample, basically, except a little bit more glitchier. Next is S Trails Diffuse. This one adds the diffuse effect, except it's got S Trails on it. Alright, we're on to our last category, S Transitions. Let's take a look at these boys. So we got S card flip. This one is a card flip, basically. Next, we got S dissolve. This one dissolves your footage, kind of like opacity. Next, we got dissolve auto paint. This one paints it as it dissolves. Next, we got dissolve blur. This one blurs it as it dissolves. We got dissolve bubble, which this one basically bubbles it up and then dissolves. We got dissolve defocus. This one defocuses it and then dissolves. We got dissolve diffuse. This one diffuses it and then dissolves. Next, we got dissolve distort. This one's basically dissolve with S distort. Next, we got dissolve edge raise. This one adds a raise effect as it dissolves. Next, we got dissolve flash bulbs. This one essentially just adds flash bulbs and then dissolves. Dissolve glare. This one adds glares and then dissolves. Dissolve glint. Dissolves with glint. Dissolve rainbow. Dissolves with rainbows. Dissolve glow. Adds a glow then dissolves. Dissolve lens flare. Adds a lens flare then dissolves. Dissolve luma. This one's essentially a luma key. Dissolve puddle. This one adds a puddle then dissolves. Dissolve raise. This one adds raise and dissolves. Dissolve shake. This one's basically it adds S shake then dissolves. Next we got dissolve speckle. This one adds little speckles and dissolves. Static basically adds static then dissolves. Dissolve tiles. Adds tiles then dissolves. Dissolve vortex. Vortexes then dissolves. Dissolve waves. Waves and dissolves. Dissolve zaps. Zaps and dissolves. Film roll. Basically is like a swish pan. Flutter cut basically just flickers it and then dissolves. Strip slide transition basically strip slides and Swish 3D. This is one of my favorite effects. It zooms into this footage and then zooms into the next footage. It's pretty cool. S swish pan is basically swish pan. S TV change basically changes it to a TV and then dissolves. S white blobs basically wipes it as a blob basically. Wipe bubble basically is one of the cool effects. It basically just like wipes it. And wipe cells wipes it from cells. Wipe checker wipes it as a checker box. Wipe circle, a circle. Wipe clock, a clock. Wipe clouds are clouds. Diffuse basically adds diffusion. Dots basically adds dots. Wipe double wedge basically adds double wedges. Wipe flux is texture flux. Wipe 4 wedges is basically 4 wedges, so like an X basically. Wipe line is like a little line, so like a linear wipe. Wipe more is basically some, I don't even know how to explain this, but yeah. Wipe pixelate basically pixelates it. It's a really popular one. I see that one a lot. Wipe plasma is like plasma. Wipe pointillize basically is like, I don't know how to explain. This one's kind of weird, yeah. Wipe rectangle is basically just like a rectangle. Wipe rings is like rings basically. Wipe star is like a star. Wipe stripes is it's basically stripes, so like a Venetian blinds. Wipe tiles is a little, I guess you could say tiles, you can change them to like triangles or like diamonds, and yeah. And wipe weave is like a little weave effect. And the last Sapphire effect we have, boys. Whew, that took a long time. This is like a 3-hour recording, guys. Anyway, the last Sapphire effect we got, wipe wedge, basically does that. That's all it does. And yeah, guys, with that being said, we are finished with this video, guys. It has been a long video. This took a long time to make, so leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. I'm going to be doing every single BCC effect, every single Red Giant Universe effect, every single Trapcode effect, and of course every single Ignite effect. And if there's any more plugins you guys want me to review, let me know and I'll get back to you. But yeah, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, of course. Join my editing Discord in the description if you want. And yeah, guys, I'll catch you guys later. It's been Out of Order. Peace.